This was a Sydney home game. So the game was essentially 5-5 with an optional under the gun straddle.
All right, so Sydney 5-5. Okay.
Yeah, with a $10 optional straddle, and pretty much all the hands that there is under the gun straddle.
Okay.
So there's more 5-5-10. So the effective stack is 3,300.
Okay.
And the 9-handed table.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. So and just a bit of background on the game. It's fairly loose pre-flop. So you get a lot of people sort of open limping, over limping, and a few guys who would raise it up. But it's generally a fairly loose game with a lot of limping and overcalling. So pre-flop, so the +1 limps 10, and I'm +2, and I raise it to 40. So I just the normal sort of 3x plus the additional $10 for every limper.
So what's your hint?
Oh, sorry. So pocket sevens.
Okay.
7 of spades, 7 of clubs.
All right. So +1 limps, you make it 40 from +2. Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so the small blind, who's the villain, he calls, and the under the gun straddle calls the additional 30, so he completes.
And what about the limper?
Oh, sorry, and the limper completes as well.
So small blind calls, straddle calls, and limper calls.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's 4 ways, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably like 160, 170, something like that. I'll put up 170. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So flop comes 7 of diamonds, 3 of clubs, 6 of diamonds.
Wow, top set, huh?
Top set. Yep. So action goes. So villain checks, and I bet. So 55, and the villain raises to 220.
So small blind, so check, right? Because you're in position with everyone. And you bet 70?
I bet 55.
Oh, 55, okay. Small blind raises to
220.
To 220. All right. So you go 55, small blind raises to 220. Obviously, you've got top set here.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't know how it is in Australia. I always find it interesting here because the small blind is supposed to be somewhat tight. He really shouldn't have 4-5 here, right? But who knows? 4-5 suited, something like that.
Yeah, no. And I guess I have no history or reads with this specific villain because these home games sort of people come and go. So no real sort of history there. And he's only been in the game for a couple of hours. So I can't really sort of grade his style or what he's playing pre-flop.
So did the other guys fold in between?
Yeah, so they both fold.
I got to tell you, man, I mean, there always are supposed to be different options in different situations, however slight that they might be. But I might just bet the flop here, even though people will be like, yeah, what do you bet 3? Are you never doing that with like an overpair? Yeah, but maybe I'm not, but maybe you have some very, very powerful draws, maybe too. I mean, although I would tend to call with those. I'm not scared. I mean, you're playing $10 straddle, right? So you're 3,300 effective. So, you're only, I'm saying only, you're 330 blinds deep, and maybe that's a lot, but with top set here on a draw heavy board where this guy could be sort of moving and shaking, and you only lose to one hand that shouldn't be all that represented, and you beat the sets and stuff. Now, with that being said, obviously you can call and get more money in later on, but just remember that 7-7 is never going to be the nuts by the river. What I mean by that is that queen, 3 queens is the lowest nut hand in any form of hold'em. Nut, meaning like that's the strongest hand. 3 queens is trip queens is the lowest. Obviously you can boat up, but that's better than trip queens. And there's going to be a lot of cards here that are going to come that are going to change things. I mean, maybe the best possible scenario would be like offsuit queen, offsuit king, but I gotta be honest with you, like I might bet 3-bet here some of the time, but yes, like I would be calling with my overpairs.
Yeah. And just another question on my sizing. That would you size up on this C bet?
You bet 55 into 170.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. You've got top set, and And there's just not a whole lot that people can have that are super strong. I mean, obviously, it's a draw heavy board. Where I tend to size up would be a situation where if the board came out like King Jack 7, King Queen 7, something like that, where you see a lot of reflecting of these offsuit broadways. But here it's just like, man, I mean, somebody doesn't even have a lot of top pair, and then the other hands are like gonna be probably not that strong by the end if someone's holding down with a 6 or something like that. So I don't mind it, and you might induce a raise, right? Where you might induce a raise with, a guy might have just called with like 9-10 of clubs, but now he sees your small sizing and he decides to attack it. Although you are betting into 3 people,
Yeah.
So did you call?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I called.
All right. So hero calls, and now the pot is what, 610?
Yeah, it's about 600, 610.
Yeah. Okay.
And the turn brings the ace of spades.
Okay.
So I check. Villain bets 520.
So small blind bets 520.
520. Yep.
So check raise to 220. You call, and now on the turn, small blind bets 520. So if you call, the pot will be 1700, and it looks like you'll have like 2500 left, something like that. Here's the thing, like if he takes this type of sizing here on the turn, boy, it's very very, very polar. Also, you wonder if someone has like the nut flush draw here, like are they going to start to check? I just wonder if he's got some bluffs here. I mean, here's the thing, right? You want to get value from sets of 3s and sets of 6s.
Yep.
But now he's very kind of polar here, and you wonder, well, am I just going to sort of feign weakness where, hey, like, because when you look at it, when you bet call, right, the flop, and let's say that the majority of your hands are over pairs, the fact that the ace comes on the turn means that it's far less likely that you have pocket aces now. So if you have like 8s through kings, that might, obviously scare people in your spot and give the villain the green light to continue to barrel as a bluff. And also, too, like I said, I tend to not think that he has a ton of ace X of diamonds sort of played this way. So I'm still not scared of 4-3. I can still kind of go a little bit either way. And I do wonder if sets now take this sizing for the same reasons. It just looks a little bluffy to me. So I wonder if I just call now sort of as played.
Yeah. And I guess during the hand, I was along the same line of reasoning that I flattered to keep to keep any potential bluffs in. And thinking head in the hand to sort of let villain continue
now,
to bluff.
if he had taken any sort of less sizing, I'm absolutely on board with raising. Some people are saying he would play ace 5 or ace 4 of diamonds this way. Really, with a followed by a pot size bet here on the turn.
Yeah, I discounted. I guess during the hand I discounted. Yeah, sort of any of those. Ace 5 or potential ace. Well, 7s, but I block it with pocket 7s or ace 6s. I just don't think villain is doing that with any 2 pairs. I guess either on the flop or turn 2 pairs.
I mean, the other issue, of course, with not raising here on the turn is if villain is going to take a majority of his sort of semi bluffs and give up at the end. Meaning, like, say he's got a front door and he's like, all right, I'll check raise and I'll bomb turn and then I'm just going to give up. And then you lose out on the value that you might make by raising turn if you had some sort of large combo draw.
Yeah.
So you call again?
Yeah, I just call.
So now the pot is, you put in 1,040, so it's 1,650 now, right?
1,650, yeah.
And 1,650, and you guys have...
So villain 2.5 sort of behind.
2.5. Okay, 2.5.
I covered him. So I hadn't covered beforehand.
Okay.
So the river brings the Queen of Hearts, and villain bets
Queen of Hearts.
Queen of Hearts.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is the most, I remember this river because, whether or not, I mean, there's definitely some disagreement as to whether or not what you should have done up until this point in the sense of, okay, I think most people in the chat are saying call flop and most people are saying raise turn. And I can definitely get on board with the raise, and I very well might raise. It just seems it seems like a little bit strange to me. But now this is interesting, right? Because the river's a queen, so it changes nothing. So you actually do get a disconnected run out, right, of blank blank, which is what I was talking about. But going back to what I was saying, obviously 3/7s can't be the nuts here. Pocket aces and pocket queens would be, but you're not going to see the small blind doesn't have pocket aces and pocket queens, right? So
Right. Yeah,
so now it really comes down to. What it really is going to come down to, do we think he has 4-5 here? Do we think he's got a busted draw? Does he have a set here? And do we want to get max value? What does he do here now?
So Villain bets 1,000 into a pot of 1,650.
And he had to start the hand 25 to start. Is that right?
Oh, he had so he was the effective stack of 3,300. Yeah.
Right, so he starts the river with about 25. Let's see here, 528, 9.
Yeah,
he starts with about 24, 25, and now he's betting 1,000. So the reason why I want to do that math is because I want to look at what I like to call reverse pot odds, in the sense that he only has about 1,500 left. So if you call, the pot's 3,650, and if you were to jam, it would be 5,150, 1,500 for him to call. So 5,150, 1,500 from him to call, it'd be getting about 3.5 to 1. So now the question becomes, obviously we take a look at his range, right? And let's just say that he has 4-5 suited, all the 4-5 suited. I'll come back to that. I tend to doubt that.
Okay.
If he has all the 4-5 suited, and then he has pocket threes and pocket sixes, right? That's 6 combos of sets. 4 combos of 4-5. And then he has some bluffs, right, that he's going to fold, right? That it doesn't matter. You miss with 8-9 of diamonds, right? My contention here is that he's not folding sets, I think, if you jam. Because the pot has been so bloated up, he's going to be getting 3.5 to 1. I don't think people are folding sets here in this spot.
Yeah.
Now, I don't personally think that he's way more likely to have all the 3s and 6s than 4-5 suited. But just doing the combinatorics, I haven't even looked at the chat yet, because I think sometimes these guys are like, "What if you raise? What will he call with?" Just doing the combinatorics, though, if you can get on board with me and say that he's always calling with sets, then it has to be a jam all in, right?
Yeah, and that was my So I did go all in.
Okay.
And targeting
jams,
and and thinking through the hand, looking for really thin value, targeting pocket the 6 combinations of pocket threes and pocket sixes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm trying to think of if there's ever another hand here that he thinks like he's going for value with. Could he ever have ace 3 of diamonds? I'm not even counting that. Obviously, that's only one combo, right? And maybe that hand folds, but I don't think any of the sets fold, though.
No.
Yeah.
No. I think he'll be priced in.
Yeah.
He'll just have to call off. And So I jam, and Villain unfortunately snaps.
Uh-oh.
And I look over and I say, "Do you have 5-4?" And he tables the nut straight with 5-4.
Do you
offsuit,
remember 5-4 offsuit?
5-4 offsuit.
Uh-oh. Well, now we got to start to do some different math here then. Now, wait a minute. So, I mean, we can't account for that, but that's problematic in this spot. What I mean by problematic is that if you have a guy V-pipping an offsuit hand here, now, all of a sudden it goes from 4 combos of 4-5 suited to, even if he doesn't V-pip all of the 4-5 off, let's say he V-pips half of it. Now, let's say he V-pips 6 of 12 4-5 offs. Now it goes up to 10 combos. But with that being said, though, the type of player that V-pips the small blind with 4-5 off can't we make an assumption or take other things into account here that he might show up with some other hands too? You know what I'm saying? It's so far
Yeah,
off
yeah,
the rails. But I mean, that's how I would look at it from a reasonable pre-flop range type of standard, where it would be like, okay, like this only would be 4-5 suited. Because if he has 4-5 off here, like, does that mean that he has 7-6 off? Right?
yeah.
When he's got 4-5 off, he's got 7-6 off, right? Would 7-6 off play it the same way? Bomb turn for protection, and then at the end, maybe he puts out 1,000. Now, if he's the type of player that's calling with 7-6 off, I don't even know if he's not gonna. That type of player doesn't bet 7-6 bet fold at the end. So it's not as simple as just saying, "Oh, wait a minute, he's got 4-5 off in his range. All of a sudden, now we have to just call." I think there's other things going on here too. If you're playing against a player like that, that's that far out to lunge, you know.
Yeah.
But thanks for the call, Graham. I appreciate it.
No, but thanks for your time.